You get a returns of objects, and you don't returns of instance of something.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Let me just do that. What is it called? Wait, but then I feel like that would be a separate thing. No, but it's not.
Okay, I was gonna ask you guys, that was
That might be that might be why.
I just
using specific.
The mills here.
So it's the English side item. That might
Oh,
be why.
what?
It exposes a socket factor.
Okay, so anyone who wants to do Python tonight instead of watching the webcast, vote now. What? Huh? Jackie, what? Huh? Well, whichever one you guys want to do. More people voted for the Zoom meeting. Yeah, we can see how it goes. If it's not interesting, then we can tune out of it. Okay, so how do we find the meeting? Last announcements. This one here? Meeting registration.
But yeah, it is.
This one is the one that's the factor.
These two? Why is one going?
I know. I was noticing it.
The client one is just the socket one. So
One is in library and one is in
I didn't know how
the,
fast.
is it doing it? Because maybe the way that they might expose it. Because it's taking a little while.
This is all fun. Oh, right here. So you.
I don't know, of course we could do it.
Does that mean no?
This makes no sense.
What's the file structure?
Oh, wait, I'm going to have to download and run Zoom. Might be better to do it from this computer. Don't be jaded.
I didn't mean to say that out loud.
I mean, it can be jaded. It's good to be jaded, actually.
Is it class announcement or career?
It's in class announcements, but it has to download the Zoom app, and I don't know if that works on Linux, so we're going to try it on this computer. Seemed to do something. What is it? No, it says open XDG open from system dialog. Download and run Zoom. I don't know. Choose a Linux type. Mint.
It's 6:35.
This is, I'm sorry, this is the one I have.
If you guys want to log in, you can. Sorry for the technical delay.
Front end needs to be running.
Oh yeah, no, it did download it, but
Well, this is what you gave me.
Turn on the video.
Oh, is that a WebSocket.io?
Yeah, I just need the audio.
That might be.
I don't mind having the.
I don't remember how the hell. No, where did I get that? Yeah. It's in Works. I just learned receiving. So. Oh yeah, see, I just copy and pasted it. And that just worked out of the box. I think
I'm just assuming figures.
Oh, I know why. Because you create the server through IO. So they're probably adding behind the scenes a route. That's like localhost slash. Maybe? No? Does that make sense? Because you create the HTTP servers.
Okay, Jackie, we're just switching over to watch the video, so go ahead and watch it on your own. Same goes for you, Fabian. Anyone else?
So slash IO clients. I don't know how the hell we edit this to like
You want me to messenger? Just make it extra.
Team programming is one of the new agile methodologies. It's not new anymore, but it's one of the agile
it's a route.
It's like loading a team programming agile.
that
It's an illegal.
really improve productivity,
So
the process of understanding algorithms. Being able to talk with your vendors, understanding how many developers really the ability to boost your own productivity.
Maybe they saved it just in case. Just don't use it.
oh, power.
Yeah, where did you say that you sent it like a message?
Okay, well, one of the things that I think is very.
Okay, how do I?
How can we use computer audio?
I don't know. It's just the way it's set up. Let me see if I can fix it. Oh, look at Jackie.
It doesn't look as if she wants to be there.
I know.
Is your mic muted?
No, I don't know how to
Yeah.
turn on. How do I fix this, Jonathan?
What are you trying to do?
Turn on the audio on the regular speakers.
Oh. Okay. You have audio going through
This
Epson?
speaker,
No, Epson?
Epson, PJ, Intel.
Click. Interesting.
If you,
Okay.
when you get a chance and when you're not driving, could you just flag us a question and I'll ask it? Or not, or put it in the chat?
Yeah, this way too loud.
Make it louder.
We want to be the.
I apologize. Go ahead, Greg.
Wait, where's the chat?
Are there any other questions? Okay,
Okay.
the
Questions?
next area that I think is very important is whatever you're applying for a job,
Poor Jack, yeah.
a cover letter, I think, is an absolute necessity. Whenever I get resumes in and they have a cover letter, they always go to the top of the pile versus people who just submit a resume without any cover letter, without any introduction. It's very easy nowadays to just submit resumes all over the place. It shows a level of interest when you put a cover letter on the resume and you say, this is the reason.
So what do we
why I'm
think? Should we
applying
give it
for the job.
another 10 minutes?
These are some of the skills that I have that you should see in my resume that make me.
Yeah,
a great
cover
candidate.
letter is just like, is this really
So-
important?
If you have a resume that I'm sure everybody has told you you need, and a good LinkedIn profile,
Did everybody know you need a resume?
is that you really need to have a cover letter, because that helps people stand out from the crowd. And on the flip side, if you actually have an interview a very important thing to do is to write a thank you note after the interview, because that shows that you took the time to think about it and appreciate the people. And again, many people
That is
don't
good
do
advice.
that. And when somebody does it, it now makes you stand out from the crowd.
Did everybody hear that?
A
Always
thank
write
you
a thank
note
you note
is
and say why you enjoyed the
always
interview.
addressed individually, and if you interview with multiple people, you should send multiple notes that are not the same. You should talk about something that happened in each of the interviews with each of the people when you send the note out. So that is, maybe a little bit tedious, but it actually shows, an interest in what you're doing and what the interviewer was talking to you about. I really like when we get interview notes back and the person has done some research on the company and relates something that may not have been exactly correct when the interview was going on, but then when they've done their research afterwards and they correct it, it shows a good ability to follow through and ability to actually then go through and fix mistakes. And that's something that's important because everybody makes mistakes. The fact that you then went through.
Wait, but there's younger people coming up.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's 3 different
Yeah.
talks.
Oh, is that?
Didn't you guys vote? You guys wanted this. That's,
Yeah, okay, should I go back to it?
yeah,
That's
just
fine.
go back. It was the class consensus.
Yeah, okay. I
I
don't really know.
Oh,
how to
wow,
get
6
back to
to
it.
3.
It's there.
I know, I have.
Oh, it's in the slot.
It's like, oops, sorry, got a disconnection.
Cat right across the board.
Okay, well, Jesus, actually, what the hell do I have? Oh,
Okay, so you know that you have to do the cover,
hi.
you literally
No,
said,
don't we all?
you're like, I need to write better cover.
I do.
For everybody. And this way, you'll also meet other people. You'll be able to, again, enhance your skills, but also learn what other people find is important. If you are looking for a list of groups, you can go to the IT Palooza website, which has a huge number of groups listed on it. And there's a couple of other sites where I'm sure you can find lots of the local groups that are down here so that you can actually look through them, see what you like, and join a group. So I guess, let's see, first job. Somebody asked a question about how important do I find headhunters and recruiters in today's market. They're a necessary evil. It's something that you should be judiciously giving out your resume to. You don't want to send out a resume to every single recruiter, but if one has a job that looks like it's in the area that you're interested in, then that recruiter would be a good recruiter to use. Anybody else?
Do you just send the resumes to the recruiters when you find them on LinkedIn, or how do you connect with recruiters specifically?
On LinkedIn, there is a section for job searching. And if you click on jobs on LinkedIn, it will give you the ability to search for jobs in a specific location. It will bring up recruiters that are in your area. It will allow you to do searches on various jobs. If there's a specific industry that you're interested in.
Are all of you getting emails from
say you're
recruiters yet?
interested in retail. Find a retail website that is geared towards the retail industry and look for jobs there.
Did you put your resumes online
You know,
on
there's
Indeed
a lot
and
of
all those
specific
sites?
industry focuses that if you're, like, I've recently been in.
If you put it out there, you'll get a lot of
There's
calls.
a bunch of energy
Emails.
specific associations that all post jobs on their websites. And some of them
Yeah.
are
It's also good to just
Really
reach out to the big recruiting
jobs that
firms.
nobody would ever really want
Just
to
send them
do,
your
but
resume.
some of them are actually, reasonable. The other thing is that when
Keep
you're
reaching
looking
out.
for a job,
Aerotech, Tech Systems, all of those,
out in the
Randstad.
market that you can use
There's a whole
to
bunch of
help
them.
keep yourself organized. One
I
of
think
those
we have-
tools is a product called Jibber Jobber. They just recently started charging for a professional level, but the base level is still free. There's another one called Career Shift, and another one called StartWire, and all of those are, good for keeping track of, jobs and people as you're actually going through a job search. Right, and I think Jibber Jobber is probably the one that I would recommend of all of those. Thank you, Josh, for putting that out there.
Thanks, Josh. We also have another question from one of our students who said, his question is, what would be the most appropriate effective title to use on a resume? He says that he hears that full stack web developer is not the best one to use.
Why not?
Most of the initial searches for something like web developer are done via computer program. So if you're just a web developer, you're going to be in a huge pile with, 100 or many hundred other web developers. If you can have a specialty, if you have something that you can add as other keywords, because it's not just the title that people are going to look for, it's the title and other keywords that are important. So if they're looking for somebody who has retail experience or energy experience or construction experience, that's something that you should put down. And don't discount non-computer jobs, because if you have actual experience on something, at this point, it's good to put it down because it shows that you'll have an understanding of the business just as much as you'll have an understanding of the technology.
Yeah, did everyone hear that? So if you don't have that much experience working in web development, put down whatever job you have. That way at least they know that you can keep the job.
So basically, if you are a web developer, say web developer. Anything else? I've used up my 20 minutes here.
You did perfect timing. It was perfect. Don't worry, perfect timing. We'll have more time to answer questions at the end of the presentation as well.
Very good.
But that was great information, Fred. You answered the questions very, clear, very straight to the point, and I know that our students would definitely are going to benefit from all the information that you have provided. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, so let's move on right along to the next presenter, which is Parker Rex. And he is the VP of Product of Delivery Dudes, something that we're familiar with. So Parker, the floor is all yours.
Sweet.
Have you guys ever heard of them before?
My name is Parker
Delivery
Rex.
Dudes?
Like she said, thanks for the intro. I run the product team.
Oh, really? It's like Postmates or something?
So, also thanks, Greg. You made a lot of good points. It's really true that product development is basically just about learning everything as fast as you can. It's never changing, so you can, you kind of have to be obsessed with learning, is what I've learned. That if you can find that you really love learning about this space, then you're going to do really well. Because this is where the world's going, It's just the fact that this sector gets larger and larger every year. And that's the exciting part for all of you guys. So whether you're an engineer, and I know that most of you guys are full stack developers, but if you're an engineer, designer, or a PM, which is a product manager, then you're in a great spot right now because you get to build stuff. And building stuff's fun. It's great. You get to see people use the things that you're actually spending time and effort on. A little bit more about myself. Not an engineer. I am, however, someone who's able to penetrate the product development market pretty fast. I'm a product person. I started interning at a creative agency, learning about product design and how to work with engineers. And at that time, I was in 2011. And at that time, my friend was.
So does
starting a
anyone
company
know what
called
this
Liberty
means,
News.
product, what he's talking
And
about that he
every
does?
single time that I left to go to school, he was just
Yeah,
like,
so you manage all the features of your product. It basically means you're like middle management. You go between the shot callers who get to make the decisions about what they want in their app and between the developers. So you go and have meetings with the stakeholders and they say, we want these features, and then you write it all down and you give it to the developers to do, and then you take it back to them and show it to them.
It's still too much business for me.
It's a terrible job. It's just like middle management. You're stuck between the developers and then the stakeholders. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not a good job. I don't think.
1,200 drivers in around. And that has been my project the last 2 years, is building out a team of 10 engineers. We're engineer heavy compared to designers. Like I myself do all the design right now, still with some help that I outsource. And it's just, it's so cool to be able to like talk to people that are excited or seemingly excited about this field, because when you get into it and you see the impact of all the work that you're doing, it's just the best feeling. You get to, when you see like the actual product, whether that's an app or a website or, some piece of software that you had a part in, it's just epic because you get to see the stats and you get to just watch it in action. You're like, oh man, I made that thing. That's pretty cool. Fun fact, just so you guys know a little bit about like where we're at as a team, is in the last 12 months we were able to ship 11 products from the ground up. So that was a combination of using agile methodology. I don't know if any of that.
Have you guys all heard of agile methodology?
But you take
It's a way of managing work tasks in the office. We can talk about it a little bit after.
There's kind of a running joke where it's getting talked about at a conference, and it's probably old. Like, tech is so fast, the whole sector. Like, I kind of consider it bleeding edge, where it's like you want to be moving so fast that you might be breaking stuff. There's a classic like Mark Zuckerberg quote of move fast and break things, but when you're a larger company, you have to be a little bit more risk averse. We're in the growth stage right now, so like we can't just break everything. But we've been able to launch a ton of products in this last year, and it's been just a combo of taking that agile methodology and figuring out how you work within your own team flow. Not every listicle out there that you read about software engineering and web developer this, like it's not going to be perfect for you. You got to find out like what on the internet you're going to believe, and what pieces you're going to take, and then decide how you're going to work them into your own workflow.
Yeah, this is all good
We
advice.
did a lot of talking on jobs, and I think that's a really interesting one because I've played both sides of it. Again, like I said, I did a bunch of hiring this last 18 months, and cover letter and a video are the differentiators. The video, I'm serious. Like I'm on LinkedIn and we have job postings, and there's 468 software engineer full stack, and then you look in, and for me, someone that's full stack isn't someone that went to one boot camp. That's very different. Like that term, someone brought that up. It's very, be careful with that. But do include a video if you can, because it throws you a different edge on that piece that you're putting out in the world. If someone else, you gotta remember, someone else on the other side of that computer looking and being like, I wonder if Josh is the right person. And then they see this video where Josh is, a characterable guy. He's a good guy, and he seems like a fit, and that's going to give you a leg up on the next guy.
What? It definitely does.
Yeah,
Don't flunk your resume either. It's so easy to sniff out. Just
corporate or financial institutions.
Just dead honest.
Especially classic financial institutions, they won't.
If you're good at HTML, CSS,
Yeah, and some of the best advice I ever got is always be professional. Never try to be like quirky or anything like that in a job application or resume. If it's part of their culture, but if it's ever a question, like err on the side of just being professional.
On it, 1 through 10, and that for me is huge. This is just like full transparency. It's like, hey, my name's Parker. I I'm good at SQL, JavaScript, and HTML. Weird stack, but that versus 1 to 10, I'm HTML, 1 to 10, I'm SQL, and so on. Like, there's just little things that you can do that actually make a pretty good difference. And really, like, fluff and resume is just, it's so easy to tell. Another interesting thing is Twitter, actually. Twitter's kind of like the cocktail party for tech networking, I've realized, especially with the guys in Miami, San Francisco, New York City, like all the guys.
No, but if you're a professional, yeah.
They're on Twitter.
Yeah, everybody get on Twitter and start following tech people on Twitter, post weird little things about like React or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Like I've had conversations.
I don't think we have any.
You know,
there's one right there.
Who did the library for Uber, the app that everyone uses that has 14 billion in funding. Like you can reach out. If maybe if your message is good enough that you spark a conversation, then there you go. Your network is expanding. I've had conversations with the head of who did the design for Spotify. Like they're all on there. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can get a lot of
connections. You can just reach out and say hello. If your message is right, then you got a conversation going.
Yeah, a lot of times people will get back to you. That's how I got my job at the Discovery Channel. I got the guy's name and I just reached out to him, and then he said, "No, I'm not hiring anybody." And then I reached out again like 6 months later, and they ended up hiring me.
I'm guessing a lot of you guys are super early in this space of project development and all that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's actually the best way to do it. Find the job you want and go apply for that job, or just tell them you want to work there. That's better than actually applying for a job, because they'll make the job for you.
Building things, then you're gonna be able to just crush it. Like that's when it clicked for me, and I was able to just evolve a little bit and say, hey, like I'm really obsessed with putting pixels on these screens and getting these out in the world for people to see. Then it just changes the game, because work doesn't feel like work, and because putting out a product for a company feels great, because once it's out in the world and you're checking the stats and you instrumented the data correctly, and you're like, wow, my work made conversion go up 10%, or my work did X, Y, or Z. Then it's validation for you and the team. And as an engineer, sometimes you can get caught in the code editor. You're just staring at it, and you got to remember that it's bigger than just those lines of code in front of you. You're actually building something that's impacting something somewhere, whether you're doing it for a personal project or at a company or whatever it is. You just got to remember, like, think a little bit bigger picture when you're building.
That's an important perspective too. A lot of times developers don't really think about that, what the product is going to do, how to make it a good experience for the people using it.
Isn't correct is they try to make something that isn't really solving a problem. So they'll try to build some sort of website or some sort of solution, but there's actually not big enough of a problem that it would make sense to build something for. So you'll find that a lot with people who are trying to get funding for company ideas, where the first two words are Uber for. So it's like, I'm going to make Uber for cupcakes. And it's like, what? Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So just validate it that the problem.
I think Uber for cupcakes is a good idea. People could just bake cupcakes.
You could end up spending a lot of time and wasting a lot of time.
I mean, what if you just wanted cupcakes? If it had all baked goods, what if you just wanted like a fresh baked cookie? Your neighbor's like baking cookies, you could just go buy one. Yeah, from a store, but not from somebody baking them.
Cool, because your skill set.
What about
Applies
Airbnb?
internationally.
Let's stay in someone's
There's
house.
something to be said about that.
John.
I could pick this guy up
Oreos
and go to Dubai right now.
It's this.
And sure, I wouldn't be able to manage my team, but as a designer, I could go anywhere. I could be the digital nomad. And there's literally websites that rate cities by cost per night and Wi-Fi speed just for digital nomads. So people can travel around the world and be the back
That's
end
pretty cool.
front end guy or the product designer or the UX guy and just fire off assets
Oh.
Wherever you have Wi-Fi, you're good. So there's definitely something to be said there. And I've had experience doing this. I just flew in a guy from Amsterdam who was here for the last, in a hotel for the last month. And it was great. He designed a bunch of stuff, and we had an engineer that was in from Paris as well. And, you know, we got to know them really well, and then they go back to their home, and sure, they're 6 hours ahead, but you can time that, you can work that, and that's really unique to our sector, I think. Just really cool. Again, some of the common mistakes that I do see, and you'll learn, but the further you get into the process of actually developing something or engineering something, the more costly it gets to fix. So like, if you had a graph, the further that you get along on the x-axis of time, the more expensive it gets.
So get things done the right,
So
right
you want
the first time.
to, you do want to spend way more time up front before you hop into a code editor, trying to solve the problem, trying to come up with the best solution, storyboard, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're trying to come up with a fridge that pings Amazon anytime something's empty, they've probably already done that. You would want to just storyboard every single piece of that process before you go in, Visual Studio or Sublime Text or whatever it is you're using them to try to make something.
So the pseudocode for the pseudocode.
And
Basically, yeah.
And
just think everything out. A lot of times if you work at a big company where they have product teams, the product teams would give me things and they wouldn't think about like what happens when there's a rollover effect here. What happens, you click on this thing and this thing pops up. There's always weird like interactive UX use cases that they don't really think of because they're not really tech people. You know what I mean? They're just like middle management. They get stuff from the decision makers and bring it to the developers. That's their job. So if there's like a rollover effect or something, they won't usually think of it. It's usually the developers that say, hey, what happens when this thing happens?
Not to plug the company too much, but it's hard not to. And yeah, I think that's it. I did want to open this up to some questions if there were any. Sorry if I sounded a little bit rantish.
Yeah, I had a question. I was wondering, what kind of content do the videos that you're talking about have? I didn't even know. Are you saying that like on LinkedIn there's an option to have post a video that you send in with your resume? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I've just had people literally like a cold email with a YouTube link. It sounds crazy, but it was that, and then it was through recruiters. So I've worked with, we had 9 recruiters on retainer at one point, but the video is about 1 minute long, and it's, hey, my name's Josh, this is what I'm all about, this is why I think I'd be great for delivery dudes, and some fun facts on myself. But it just opens the floor up. It like makes that like human connection, Otherwise you just feel like
I like that idea.
Arial size 14 font on an email. Like it humanizes that experience a little better.
Okay, that's good advice, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Great question, by the way. Any other questions?
Questions? Anybody have questions?
We have a question on the chat from one of our students, and her question is, when you say it's a fast-moving industry, what would be your tips, advice to keep up with the trends without wasting time?
Yeah, I guess it's up to, it's kind of subjective waste of time, because if you're in it and you love this game, then you don't mind spending the time putting in the work. Like, to do good work and to have fun with this, like, you're gonna have to constantly just be involved in it. Like, I think in order to have a rapid growth trajectory, you gotta be in it. You gotta be reading TechCrunch is kind of garbage. It's all about just like raising of capital and stuff, but there's newsletters out there that just keep you up.
Get on Twitter, follow people on Twitter. Hacker News is a pretty good one to follow too.
I go back to Twitter. Like, it sounds silly, but there's amazing.
Laughing Squid is another good one. Laughing Squid, like Laughing Squid. Yeah. They're like TechCrunch.
And then you're able to forecast.
Wired too is pretty good for a lot of
things. The more in the know it that you can be, the better. It's honestly what it is, and that's within tech itself, and then it just in general.
What was the other one you said?
So, I mean, newsletters are pretty good, but you just, it's just all on the internet,
That
like
phrase.
doing your own research.
The lioness?
And I get the same.
What other questions do you have?
Anyone else?
Greg, number 2 wants to know, Greg, who do you follow on Twitter?
Who do I follow on Twitter?
I'm sorry, Parker. See, I'm reading what she wrote, and she just asked Greg, and then Parker. Who do you follow on Twitter?
I followed, there's 2 people that are total badasses. One of them is Andrew Chen, and he did growth on rideshare, the rider side of Uber. So it's at Andrew Chen, CHEN. And he was able to just explode growth for Uber. And just in terms of someone in the space that like knows what's going on, how industries are changing, or how trends are changing, how releases are making the game different, he knows what's going on. There's another guy called Jeff Morris Jr., who is the head of revenue and product at Tinder. So he took that dating app from nothing to the top grossing app on the App Store for, I don't know, 6 years running, which is insane. And he just knows everything from all the engineering pieces to design pieces to monetization, which is, you know, end game. So those 2 guys and then me. But yeah, it really is about, you know, if it clicks with you and you really are into tech and product development, then you'll find what's out there. There is so much content.
Great, what else? What other
questions? That's good.
When you were looking at people, you said that you've been doing a lot of the hiring recently. Have you been hiring specifically developers?
Yeah, so I myself am the first filter on all the resumes, and then our VP of engineering, Kale, he like did the whole 9 yards, like master, top of his class, engineering at Brown, total whiz. So I'll do the first iteration, first comb through to pull out all the people that I don't think are real candidates, just don't have enough experience, or, you know, if we're hiring someone for Swift and someone that writes C is applying, it's like, why? And then when I handpick those, then I'll hand them off, and then we'll go through the motions of a couple different steps of interviews. We do a technical phone interview, and then a part 2 in person if possible. If they're out of the country or out of the state, then we'll do it over something like this. And then part 3 is on site again.
Are they in California, I wonder?
I have another question for you from one of our students. What recent problems have you guys had to overcome, and how did you do it?
Oh man, so when you're in a startup / growth phase of a company, it is every day you go home and inspired, and you're just trying to understand which ones are the most important to put out. And you know, you I think the question was,
doesn't look like South
recent
Florida.
problems.
That room.
So we were calling all the restaurants, like, you know, I keep using Josh as a name to use because he's right there, but you know, Josh calls delivery dudes and says, hey, I want to order a pizza. And we're like, yeah, Josh, you can totally order that pizza. And then instead of us hitting a button, firing it to a restaurant, we were calling the restaurant, like, hey, I want to order a pizza. And then it's just this roundabout way, and it's incredibly inefficient. So that was the problem. We had a massive amount of overhead for people that were sitting in offices calling and getting off the phone just to place the orders of the restaurants. You know, it's 2018, we need to have this on a tablet. We need to be running this in a more fluid way. That launched last June, so it's not too recent, but we finally got them in all the restaurants, where the solution was to make a restaurant app. So problem, it's incredibly inefficient to, you know, send orders over the phone. Solution, let's make a restaurant app that reduces the time spent, as well as the overhead, as well as increasing the order accuracy, because restaurants are noisy. So it's basically like problem solving is product development. And you want to it's so fun. Like, that's why I'm doing this talk right now, because I actually do truly believe that this is a fun sector, and I really enjoy it.
All right, we have another question.
I do see them.
Okay, see them? Okay.
Filter them.
So you need to be careful with full stack as a title. Full stack, if you went to like full stack to me and full stack to my entire team and full stack at the conferences in Vegas does not mean just one bootcamp. Full stack is a tricky word, just because it could mean that you're full stack within the realm of that bootcamp, but there's a lot of different languages, and it's just a vague kind of thing. So if you can actually iron out what it is that you're good at, then you're way better off.
Yeah, so get specific. Whatever you guys like working on, put that first on your resume.
The issue there.
Especially if you don't have much
I just
experience. If you
want
put full stack and you have one boot camp, yeah, that doesn't look
what is the advantage perk of working for startups versus traditional established companies? Oh man, okay, so the way I look at it is there's startups, there's growth stage, and then there's enterprise. Enterprise would be like if I went and worked at Facebook, I would have an incredible amount of nets in front of me and webs. So anytime I want to launch something, I'd be like, hey, I got this new design. I want to fire it out to 200,000 people. I would have to go and get it through a bunch of different committees, have design reviews, do all these things. And, you know, there's reasons to that. You know, Facebook has 2 billion monthly active users. It's a massive number, but I don't like that. I don't like there's no variance, you know, there's no creative expression where you can just kind of do and feel and act in a fast way. So to be able to rapidly iterate and send things out into the world, that's kind of where it's at for me. And you feel that way more in startup environment. Growth stage as well is great because you get the comfort of enterprise, where you know you've got the salaries, the healthcare, all that. But you can also have the freedom of shipping. So I prefer startup to growth stage companies. I got to live both of those here, so I'm biased.
Everyone.
Happy solstice.
The longest day of the year, and we're in here.
And if there's no more questions, then
You just have one more come in, and then we'll move on.
cool. Interested in developing digital products. So that's a tricky one. Another thing is like, be careful with the way you phrase your job application. Like the last guy kind of spoke about it, but it's really important because the guy on the other side or the gal on the other side that's reading through LinkedIn or emails, like that subject title's got to be on point because there's gonna be a lot of them. And if it says graphic designer and you're going for a product design job, or if you're going for something that is not specific to graphic design, it's actually the visual design work within a product, like the person on the other side should know that. And graphic design is kind of an antiquated term. And then the same thing goes for the you know, software developer versus front-end engineer or back-end engineer. I found a lot more luck with word engineer over developer. So yeah, like whenever I would see full stack developer, I kind of gloss over it. I'm looking at front-end engineer or back-end engineer or iOS engineer.
Yeah, or you say JavaScript
And they're more
developer.
specific because I know.
No, I don't think so. I think he's always been a product
what I
person.
need.
They're from Delray Beach. They do like call centers and stuff there. They got started out as just a call center
skill set.
that would take a call for like a pizza, and then they'd place the call to the delivery guy in the restaurant and all that.
If you guys do have other questions, please hit me up on Twitter. It's just Parker X. It's my name on that little slide with no spaces. And you'll get to hear me rant more, but in tweet form, which is now 280 characters. So that's exciting.
That's exciting. So we'll move on to the next presenter, but Parker, don't leave because I'm pretty sure that we'll have more questions for you and Greg as well, okay?
Cool.
And then our next presenter is going to be Noel. Woo! And Noel Puller, he is a CTO at, correct me if I'm wrong, how do you say that, Urea Consulting?
Consulting, yes.
Urea Consulting, okay, well, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I actually do enjoy this kind of thing. But I wanted to hit on a couple of things that my previous two presenters were discussing, and as much as we go along. But I'm trying to stick to the 3 points that I wanted to discuss.
Awesome.
And number one is, what to expect in terms of entering the tech world. And let me give you a slightly maybe different perspective.
He's a CTO.
At the end of the road, if you will, and the sooner you get there,
he calls himself a serial entrepreneur.
A combination of business strategy with the data.
I like the artwork behind it.
My point being is that just about every industry is going through digital transformation.
For what?
Every single one, not one that's not going through it. And digital transformation is as much about the technology and the data, of course, as it is about change management. And learning the code and learning the language that is required is needed not only to be part of that change on the development side, but to be part of that change on every side. I'm not the best person to actually communicate with all levels of management. I have a particular style that might come across difficult, I'm short on patience, and I just want to get things done. But the reality is that when you go into a company, and the more established it is, the more you'll encounter this, the more that you have to deal with people that are used to doing things in a certain way, the way they always done. And for them, all this change and all this technology, or for a lot of them, is threatening, it's scary, and being able to communicate what all this technology and what all these changes actually mean is critical. So practicing your communication skills is terribly important. And being able to relate to the people that you're impacting with all this technology is actually critical. As I was saying, disruption is happening at every level of the organization.
Let me know if you guys want to get back to the lesson at any point.
That means that there's a
Next one?
there's a combination
Okay, well,
of
whatever you guys want.
strategy,
Let me know if you want me to teach.
With the actual execution. And you can contribute on both sides. I find it a lot more exciting to be defining that strategy and having these types of conversations than the actual coding itself. Now, in terms of different technologies and which are the most important and how are they impacting I think there's a certain consensus about what's happening and the change that is created. And even though a lot of them might be seen as fast, and maybe some even are, the reality is that this is real. This is not. The ones that I'm focused in and that I'm involved in one way or another have to do with BI, business intelligence, and again, I don't think that any company is going to survive if they don't have a good tool that allows them to extract the information and tell a story. And then you have machine learning, and again, it's going to be very hard for any company out there that is not taking advantage of big data and machine learning to be successful. Then you have robotics. It's critical in various industries, and I will say 3D printing. Artificial intelligence is impacting absolutely every industry, and augmented reality is just getting started, but it's going to be huge. I think that driverless cars are going to impact the way we live and work in a very significant way. Omnichannel, I deal a lot with retail companies, and that is their biggest issue. And I would say blockchain is, again, every single industry is going to be impacted. Blockchain is literally a platform where on top of where you're going to end up building all kinds of different technologies and all kinds of different solutions. And I would say last, Internet of Things, again, in many, many industries, you're going to have that impact being felt pretty quickly. And just to put things in perspective, if you look back what life was 10 years ago, and 10 years is really nothing.
Yeah, I feel myself going to sleep.
When the iPhone came, life was so different.
Yeah, I don't think this is helping us get full stack developer
I
jobs.
mentioned, and I'm sure I missed a couple out there. Each one of them is going to impact our life.
And then I realized that's another type of
Yeah, that's Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. Yeah, just put JavaScript developer, Node.js developer. That kind of stuff is pretty good.
Translate into a huge disruption in every possible imaginable way.
Okay, guys. Can someone tell Jackie and the others that we're going to go back to this?
Dash rep.
Elliot, I think we're going back to our Python stuff.
And you have to install the plugin. With npm install.
Thank God.
You know when I was talking to her today? Alright, I want to make a friend.
Thanks, sir.
He was telling me,
Yeah.
so are you taking front-end development? I just don't want to.
It's kind of like working out.
And then just like, why didn't
Console.
Are you gonna put this on Club 9 so I can read?
Where did everyone else go? We're missing half the class. Oh, were there more people here that took a break? Thanks, Melvin. I don't think there were. I think this
No,
was.
there's just one person that left to get a phone.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw he came back. Ah, there you are!
Oh, who's here?
Because I can't add another one for Node,
Okay.
from Node server.net.
Well, we have us. Anyway.
Wait, so he didn't really super answer the question because he was like, recruiter send it. How do you send the video? Like a YouTube link or they actually have to click on?
Yeah, he said that. He said a YouTube link. Yeah, I think a lot of people would click it if it's there.
For sure.
So like if you send an email reaching out to somebody, you send them a YouTube link?
Yeah, I think so. If they're looking for somebody with that job. Yeah, if you're really looking for someone with that job.
I would just say it really depends on the company.
Yeah, it really
Company
does.
has to- When you look at the website, the company culture has to have that, like,
Yeah. Which
that,
is
Like
like.
within Node, spawn
yeah, me too.
a child,
No,
a
I
terminal
didn't apply for
process
a
that
federal job, though, I couldn't.
spawning
Yeah, that's
process
not
that's
like a
a
video.
command.
No, not at all.
No, that's not video. Okay, guys, we are going to get started on Python. How's everyone doing? Yay, Python. Okay, so remember where we left off on Tuesday? think we were here. Number 4, classes. Remember how we made this class constructor for a student? Very similar to what we did with the object-oriented programming in JavaScript. Only it's Python, so the syntax is a little bit different. We don't have any curly brackets we use to enclose things. What do we use instead, guys? We use tabs. So we're defining just 2 functions here in our class. We have one, which is the init method, which constructs the record. We do the same thing we do in JavaScript, but we use self instead of this. And then we just have another method called report that just prints out the first and last name, and we can say, hi, first name, last name, whatever. Oh, Sam is missing today. That's who's not. Okay. Now we have another exercise, moving right into it, where we're going to do views. So it looks like we're getting right into Django. Let me just check the lesson plan here, see if we have any slideshow or anything for Django. Otherwise, we're just going to get right into talking about Django.
Right.
So Django, does anybody have any background info on Django at all?
STDL. Right, that's the message.
Oh, no, I don't mind if someone sees that, I see that. I like to make folders or just one page.
Sorry, guys, just making sure we don't have a slideshow for that.
Yeah, depending on your settings and their settings. Yeah, I've seen your profile. Yeah, I figured you were just looking at my profile for inspiration. No, it's not. I don't see it as embarrassing. I love looking at people's profiles.
I liked your LinkedIn.
Yeah, I love
think
looking
you should
at
read it.
people's profiles before I go to an interview, just to like make sure I get to know them, and so that they know that I'm actually fully invested.
That is good.
No, it's not. LinkedIn's there for a reason. If you don't want to get stalked, don't have social media. That's it.
Okay, guys, we're going to move right into this, talking about Django. So again, Django is a what? It's a web framework, right, for the programming language Python. We all understand that except for Melvin. He was not here. Did you find anybody?
No, but you'll be happy to know that I went to the restroom.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Melvin. Great job. Okay, so Django, web framework for Python. Django was invented actually at a newspaper in Topeka, Kansas. It's like the old newspaper for the city of Topeka, Kansas, which is a small like college town in Kansas, and they needed a special system. They wanted to build it themselves, so they built this whole system called Django, named after Django Reinhardt. And what it tends to be really good at is it can generate what they call scaffolding really fast. So it will generate the forms on the front end, and then it will also generate the SQL on the back end. So really, really fast. You can have a whole system where you can start entering stuff on the front end and then see it update to your database on the back end with just a few lines of code without much work at all. So that's really good if you just need a simple way to input data into a database. Basically, Django can make forms really quick that'll link up to a database, and it does everything really quick together. So in this example, yes, it is. It's very widely used. People use it for different things. I was actually researching today what the differences were between using Django and using something like Express. So some of the differences are, one, Django is what they call a full stack framework, which means that it does everything. In Express, you have a separate like ORM, that's a separate package. You have a separate, everything is pretty much like separate and modular. In Django, it's all part of one thing. So it's all, they call a monolithic full stack framework.
So instead of having to, like, for instance, call in so many npm packages, Django kind of covers it.
Right, Django covers all of that stuff for you. It's also a little bit less code in Django typically to get up off the ground if you just want like forms. If you just want some forms that link to a database, Django does that better, but it's a little bit harder to customize, I guess. So it's still very much in use. It's very popular among data scientists in the data science community. because they like using Python. Any other questions on Django before we get started? So Django does basically the same thing as Express. And there were some people online today that even said they learned to do like a stack like we're doing now with Express and then either Angular on the front end or React on the front end. And then they just decided that they tried Django and they liked that better. So they started using Django on the back end and then they used the same like Angular or React or whatever on the front end. So we are going to get into just talking a little bit about what Django does. Is there anything to like introduce them to Django? Did you look at the lesson plan at all? Because it went from what we were doing last week with classes just into views and Django. So let's just take a look at what they're sort of asking us for here. Is there even a README in here or anything? No.
Wait, is there nothing in push to the GitLab repo? This is just it?
Oh, whatever I put in there, yeah, that's it.
So there's no solved?
No, there is a solved. The solved is here.
Can you push the solved?
For Python?
Yeah.
For the Python, yeah. Yeah, just give them everything for Python. It doesn't really matter. Yes, we are. Well, every class is optional.
Every class should be optional.
The solved is there.
Correct. Where? Is it on week 20?
No, week 21.
I don't see week 21. It shows like the last time you pushed was.
No?
Like they said.
Yeah. We can probably give that to you. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, like, there's a lot of great resources out there online that'll probably be a better resource for you that'll take you through it in a more kind of step-by-step way. If you did want to learn like PHP or maybe ASP.NET, Khan Academy is a good one for that. But yeah, there's lots of languages out there. There's lots of stuff you can do. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're supposed to be doing here. We don't have a lot to go on, it seems like. So I'm just going to CV into full stack lesson plans.
Oh, we're getting C# as well? Oh.
No, we're not.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing.
Oh, perfect.
No, yeah.
We're doing it in class, but we have the
Yay!
Melvin.
Can't wait.
I mean, it shouldn't.
Sorry. You're so much more animated earlier, Matthew. I like that one. You turn into a
like
monkey.
Wow.
Wow, you really.
That is so messed up. I'm always very energetic. I'm happy about it.
You don't have to be happy. You can just be energetic.
I'm pretty energetic. My voice is pretty awake. That's something. That's just give you some tequila if you go from there.
That's smart, right?
Okay, so solved. Okay, so now I think I just run. Do I just run Python manage.py? I think so. So I think all we do, similarly to how we run Node server.js, here we're just going to run Python 3 manage.py.
Oh, do we have the npm install Django?
Yes, but it's not going to be.
Not npm.
It's not npm. It's going to be easy install or pip install, I believe. So I have to install pip. Pip is like the Python version of npm, basically. So let's try this. So sudo apt-get is like basically like the Chocolatey or Homebrew for Linux. So sudo apt-get Python. What was that?
me know when you. Yeah, just do the use the hashtag 100 days of code and hashtag.
That's the beauty of Twitter. You can say anything.
Oh, I don't really like the one that's
Because I'm
I
not
just
getting
don't
it
know.
all.
I have 20.
The same.
Oh my god, and they actually say testing 1, testing 2. Mine says 1 through 22.
I have a lot of tweets that say testing and stuff.
Wow. So it's 2 to 3.
Yeah, that's kind of how everything else works. Once you graduate one thing, it takes you to
Now if I hit the URL, it's like
Install
terminal.
Django. So this is how we get Django, I think. We're just going to pip install Django.
Do you have to do it like globally? Or no? It's just
That is a good question. Well, we're going to see.
Because here you're doing it like NPM, like
Right. No, it's not a stupid question, but it's not a stupid question.
it's like I said it and then I realized it's like what was actually.
No, it makes sense. I just don't know. From command Python setup egg info. Oh, so here's what we need. We need this thing called setup tools. So we're gonna do pip install setup tools.
I do like brew install kit. Does that have to be global?
No, because Homebrew will make everything with Homebrew is global. It's pretty much just npm that just installs things. So pip install setup tools. Django needs something called setup tools to
I
run.
think I actually already have.
Yeah, it comes by default on some systems. So yeah, it should be pip install setup tools and then space Django, because Django needs setup tools. Oh yeah, you might already have all that Python stuff.
But then how do I?
Are you on Python 3
Oh,
though?
I'm supposed to pip install Django. not
Yeah.
pip Django.
No, pip install Django.
Yeah, I upgraded because I was on 2. Pip install.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It says Homebrew provides kit
Well,
via brew install Python.
you should make that its own view.
Oh, and then I have like a single bit with the very G2 template, right? And then so I can really scope SF either the index right?
So
Yeah, it's more or less when working with read the whole email. It's an email thread.
Oh wait, do you guys have an email on how to do it?
Huh?
Do you guys have
No,
an
no,
email?
no,
Oh,
it's
okay.
that She didn't finish reading the error message,
Oh, okay.
and
Gotcha.
I just finished reading things because I learned the hard way that you should always finish reading.
Mhm. Yeah, that can end badly. Had that happen. Okay, so that we did that.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So like, remove all this. Let's see that, right? And then it's only
yes.
so whatever there. And then that variable is gonna go to
The other one.
the thing, the view by itself. Yeah.
If you don't have Python already?
But you should do.
Yeah, that's good. That should be fine.
I call it partials.
It might. Try type which pip. No? Or you can do it this way, python-m pip. That works too. It's just not in your path. But it should work. Or try typing which easy install. All one word, easy or easy underscore install.
Yeah, I guess I have that.
Okay, so then just do easy install pip. Dash user. So yeah, you have to kind of hack around with Python and Django a little bit.
That's you. I think it was. Yeah.
Sudo easy install pip.
Is easy install one word?
Easy underscore install.
And underscore. Okay, successfully installed Django. So in order to do that, I did python-m pip install Django -- user. So now let's see what happens when I do Python 3 manage.py. Couldn't import Django. Are you sure it's installed? Don't forget to activate a virtual environment. So sometimes the best way to fix these things is to Google.
Right.
So it's also going to require something called virtual env.
Are we virtual env on this as well?
Uh-huh.
Well, controls its own folder, so technically speaking would be like that.
No, I didn't know we needed it.
Well, remember this is all gonna load from the HTML.
I'm gonna try running it. Let's see what happens.
Is your HTML not loaded? Yes, big structure.
Because I looked at
What message did you get when you try to run manage.py? Because I got a set of instructions.
I just got this error. Couldn't import Django. Are you sure it's installed? And import variable. Are you sure it's available on Python path and environment variable? Did you forget to activate virtual environment?
Oh, no, I got another code. It's just a set of instructions. Like it tells me to type manage py help subcommand for a specific subcommand. So it's
yeah.
Options for different subcommands. Does that mean it worked?
Of course, the only dependent. Not sure. Try run server. Try doing Python manage.py space run server. Try that. If your project has a our project should have a setup.py that's like a but it doesn't.
That's not the no. Yeah. That's not any of that. It's like the same
but the node is the rendering of this. Remember, because the routing, the main routing is being handled by Express. So the server is after it's managed. Look out something nice.
No, it's funny that you texted me. He saw that I commented on it. And he's like, "You post this volume on LinkedIn?" And I'm like,
Or something. So Like, it's still, I mean, there's no need for
Yeah,
any
public server should just serve the public. The default is the public folder and then you index it.
I just got the thing from guys.
still like,
Well, you just need to use it on your
right, I just restarted it though. Oh, it's loaded this. This is fine. Like, this works. But now, but it's not finally. There it is. Okay. So now, push over to the other side.
So did that work, Mappy?
No, I just told me that run isn't a command.
Oh, I'm not changing.
But
the-
I-
Run server? Did you type
Yeah,
run server?
Run isn't a command. But I think what I saw is actually what the file is, because I didn't get an error message, I just got available subcommands that I can continue.
Let's see. So if I do this, manage.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what's supposed to happen.
What is it?
When you do Python manage.py, then it gives you a list of subcommands that you
Oh.
can use with py.
Import error. Django. Let's see if I do this. Import Django. Why is that not there?
It's not really working though, because once you type manage.py in a subcommand,
TAs, do you guys know what's going on here? Couldn't import Django. So it's saying if it's going to try to import Django, django.core.management.
oh, never mind, you're supposed to do Python manage.py and then
Import the figure.
Yeah.
So it's like partial.
I do load data and then it shows me all the data about something. I just don't know what that something is.
So
So like this is what I got this time. After I installed Django, it gives me all these subcommands. So then I did Python manage.py load data. This load data is one of the subcommands. It shows me I don't know what the data is. I looked at the file and I don't get it. You don't have to. Who pip install Django?
Hold on. Bad.
Oh, okay.
using
I don't get any errors. I just get
No database
Data.
fixture specified. Please provide
Oh.
the path of at least one fiction to manage.
I don't know.
sudo using.
Maybe we should move on to the next exercise.
Yeah, that's what I'm
not sure
trying to
what
do.
we're supposed to do on this one.
Yeah, I
don't
don't-
really understand the file structure.
Yeah, none of these have any instructions, and there's really no instructions in the teacher's guide either. So
That's money well spent.
Woohoo!
right. So we talked about Django has an opinion as to how you should architect your application. Right. Express gives you a lot of. It's very unstructured. You can choose which libraries you want to use. You can choose how you want to structure your folder. Django is a lot more structured on how you should structure your document or your project rather. Django actually uses the term, it is an MVC framework, but they prefer the term MTC or Model Template Controller. This is because Django's views have the responsibilities of controllers. So the views handle a lot of the core logic that typically goes in the controllers.
Oh, you said they prefer MTC?
Yeah, they prefer the term MTC Model Template Controller. This is because Django's views have the responsibilities of controllers. So they push more of the logic out to the views or the templates. Install Django admin. So let's see. We should have something called Django admin. If this. Okay, so we should be able to do Django admin make project.
The thing is, I also don't understand, like, in the unsolved folder, like, what's unsolved?
Yeah, I don't get that either. It doesn't give us like instructions like it normally does.
Yeah, do you have any information?
No, they don't. They're lost too in over.
Oh, shall we go to
Did you guys at least select all the solves?
Yeah, everything's copy paste.
The users folder is sending us to.
Are you guys missing instructions?
Yeah.
Read me,
Is
there's
that
no
today's
clear
still
notes
not?
as to what to do. There's not even a run this in the terminal.
Manage.py start app.
Yeah. I know Vlad kind of went off, like he just stopped following me. He just started like teaching on his own, like his own stuff, and gonna follow with.
Is he allowed to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's really experienced in C#, so he was able to teach like way more than what was in the lesson plan anyway.
Can you at least unblock the lesson plans from the README, because whenever I click on it, it gives me a full form.
From block? What do you mean?
Yeah, because I just don't have access to that link.
Sudo manage.py. Sudo.
Oh yeah, because that doesn't exist. That folder doesn't exist.
At all?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
Because that's from GitHub, and that's GitLab.
I want
Wait, what instruction?
It's like the README, like the instructor README.
It's just the wrong link.
Well, no, it's this way.
I don't know.
Probably from like the private repo. It is from a private repo, but
But is it linking a file that?
it's a local reference.
Oh, okay. So just change it to the GitLab.
There's one because it's
If it's a file, it has to.
Oh, okay. So here's what we have to do. Pip install Django with a capital J. Are you guys watching this?
Yeah.
Equals 1.1.0.1. Equals, yeah, with a capital G. 1.1.0.
Having trouble in
I don't push
yeah,
that.
this
Oh,
is because he's on
okay.
Linux, so I don't know if he.
One.
Yeah.
But you have it.
1.1.0.1. Capital D.
Yeah, I saw that for virtual end, like it's a Python and virtual end, but that's about it. There's not much.
Yeah.
Let's try this. Sudo apt-get install pip3.
Does have read?
Not really.
That's a good question.
Okay, so here's another way we can do this. We can do Python 3 -m pip.
Oh, no, you didn't read though.
Oh yeah, maybe I should do that. Yeah, Python 3 -m pip. No, Python 3 module
Like I want
pip.
this to be. So I put on
I'll go with one.
I don't know you didn't have that work assignments for these until now.
it's like, there's no for keyword, right? It's like this in this.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, I ran something. I think it's what it needs to be. I don't know what it's about, but it was like.
Mappy, try typing.
Oh no, I have Django. Like I already installed it.
Right, but here's what you need to do. Mm-hmm.
No, but when the things that we've already run manage PY, and it's a list of subcommands that you can do.
Right. I'm trying to get you the next command. Manage.py start app users. Try that. Python manage.py start app, all one word, space users. Sorry? Start app. Yeah, we'll go over it as a class in a second. I just need to get my system.
Users conflicts with the name of an existing Python model. Can't use it.
Funny word.
Oh yeah.
Users, did I say?
Yeah, but I need to try it, but
Start users of the lowercase u.
wait, no, you didn't do
Yeah,
it.
I know.
Okay, so that's the same error that I got. Not really error.
Yeah, command error. Oh, because we already created an app with that name.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to start it up. Not great.
Manage.py start app users. Sure, hold on. So then we have a one-time setup for every new app. We go to install for an 06 templates app. Then we can see that it created a something for users inside installed apps. We have users.apps.usersconfig. So does everyone see this? So look, Mappy, if I take this out and save it, then I can go back here and do this again.
You still have the directory users.
Where?
Right there. So above app.
Oh, okay.
Wait, why do you have two?
One uppercase because it created both of these.
Oh, that's so weird. I still only have one.
For me, so users.apps.usersconfig. So we go in here and make sure this same. Yeah, inside add users.adds.usersconfig. Okay. So we're now going to define the views in views.py. So we created this new app. So this is all we have to do in Django to create what they call the scaffolding for our new app. So doing this new app, users just created all of this code for us just by running that one Django admin command. Everyone see how that works? So now we can come here to this new users directory that we just created. You can see that it created an admin file. It created an apps file. It created a tests file if we want to write unit tests. It created a urls.py file. And finally, it created a views.py file. So the views.py is what they're telling us to change. And it looks like it's saying use the HTTP response to create stub view methods. So basically, this is designed to create the CRUD for you guys. You guys remember what CRUD stands for? Create, write, update, delete. So, or create, read, update, delete, rather. So we can say here's, excuse me. So we have a view for add, a view for the detail for each record, and a view for the list of all of the records. So next thing it wants me to show you guys is remind the students of Django's MVC paradigm, explain that the first thing we'll explore is the controller layer, since this is what allows us to bind the UIs to the data. Remind the students that the controller in MVC is called a view in Django, and open up the user.views.py. Emphasize the terminology isn't crucial, but students do need to remember that views.py is where we define the controllers, not in UIs. Default views.py, explain that the user hits a URL. So basically when the user hits a URL, it's going to call this view, very similarly to the way we do in Express with our routes. This is basically the Django version of our routes in Express. Then so we can tell Django which function to call when the user hits a given route, and we'll show how this routing mechanism works in just a sec. For now, what we want to look at is explain that it is easy to understand. So we can create a home route and explain its components. First, the HTTP response from Django.http response. We're importing here. Django needs this to return the HTTP response, very similarly to what we do with app.get and app.post in Express. And then we return the render method. We're passing in the template. Index.html is going to be the template. And we can see that in our templates folder. We have the templates for the users app and then index.html. So here's our template that we're going to be passing the data into. That comes from the controller. That's really a view because that's Django's ethos and that. So in templates, so users is the directory that it created when we created our new users app, right? You have that in yours? If you did create app user, if you went to your command line and ran this command manage.py start app users, it should create a new folder for you called users.
I ran it, but since there was already users, it wouldn't let me.
Oh, it wouldn't let you because it was already there. Yeah. So maybe delete that directory and try doing it again, or try making a new app, and it will create all this scaffolding for you where it makes a bunch of HTML files, it makes a bunch of Python files, it does a whole bunch of different stuff. So we can see here it's using for this index view that shows all of the to-dos that are going to go in our to-do list app. It uses the index.html inside of users. Here it's using the detail.html inside of users, and here it's using add.html inside of users. So basically the way that a Django app works, or the way that a Django project works, is a Django project is comprised of multiple apps. So you might want to like, what's an Express project that we've worked on that had multiple components? I'm trying to think.
In the last one?
Yeah, so if something that you've worked on had multiple components, like, I don't know, Sam's to-do list app, for example. The users might be one app within his project, and then the tasks might be another app. So basically anything that has its own database table associated with it is an app in Django parlance, and then your project is made up of multiple apps. So you might have an app that manages users and tasks. So you would have one Django project. Within that project, you would have an app for users and an app for tasks. When you create the apps, it automatically generates all of the scaffolding for you. So as I showed you, it generates this whole users folder here. It generates the templates and the HTML files for you. It generates a migrations folder. Anybody want to take a guess what this is for? It's for migrating your database. So say you're testing stuff in your development system with your development SQL instance. You can then migrate it to your prod on Heroku or whatever you're using. Make sense? Yes? No? Maybe? Questions? So we have this views.py. This is basically where everything starts, right? This is like the routes in our Express app. So let's keep going. Let's see what else they want me to show you guys.
Is it break time?
Oh yeah, break time. Let's break.
Thank you. Let me know again. I should do something. Maybe because I was actually still streaming it, the presentation.
At least tomorrow is Friday. Like, that's something to look forward to. Turn it down on Friday? And you tried. What are you saying?
Back at 8:30 or something?
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm used to it.
I'm super sleepy. No, but now the sun is up so early.
Lily? Oh.
Oh, no, next to you. I know, and I'm always wondering, like, what is she hiding?
No, Tuesday she did it. Tuesday she did it.
Oh, she did it? That's a first.
Yeah, that's no, she has done it twice.
Oh.
It's only when she brings the stuff.
She was confident that there was no rule like
She did have the stuff, I guess.
Yes. Me too. I'm just looking for jobs because it's more interesting. I just want something sweet.
Oh, did somebody text me?
Alright, you think we're good. We don't have the suit.
No, because now on Tuesdays and Thursdays I work at from 6:30 to 3.
I say last time.
Yeah, I have time to change. He has like one ear and everything.
You know, I'm starting to call bullshit on Shopkeep's advice of like not like applying for junior roles. I haven't been there.
You know, but that's what I told him. I asked her, I was like, you know, you told us not to apply the place and offer to get those for you that she told you about like what it was.
Yeah, I'm so distracted.
She's like, honestly, I never like feel like do like qualify for it. She was like, a lot of times it's just yeah. She's like,
Honestly, so she posted something on LinkedIn the other day, and then I saw one of the people who had already graduated, right? Like, oh my God, but we already know how awesome you are. And she's like, oh, thank you, we're part of that. And I'm just thinking about that 4-minute presentation she had the other day.
yeah, literally, she's 1 second, and I missed it by like 6 minutes, and when I got there, I was like, questions, and I was like, really? This presentation lasted. There was nothing else to say.
Less than 6 minutes, because you know she had like waits a minute.
And it was about like online presence or whatever, but it wasn't what you meant about like visibility, like you know, research or something. It was just like, what do you need to have a professional Instagram? Like,
No, don't worry about her.
how often should you post? I was like, wow.
No, stop. I'm
Like,
so glad it happened.
it was like, did you was in the office already? So I fell asleep at like, I was like, at 5:25, I was like, let me just close my eyes while I wait for like the Zoom presenter to come online or whatever. And I like woke back up at like 5:36, and I was like, oh shit, I missed like the video. It was done. At 5:37, it was like questions, and I was like,
It's going a lot more into like interfaces and like all the board inputs that nobody actually like nobody likes unless you're actually working on like Java backends.
Right.
Oh God, yeah.
she was like, post like, and I was like, wow, this is it. This is wow.
This is what
I
I
could have just taken a full-on app class.
It's like
You said do not watch.
this is an integer, and I'm like,
I just watched it. It's crazy.
I'm gonna watch it.
I've been doing this for years.
Dude, just drop out.
What?
I'm not driving
Drop
anymore.
out, you don't need a degree.
I mean,
Yeah,
right, but
Right?
I think people are just
But
sleeping.
that's probably not a good idea.
No, we're not learning.
When I interviewed with Google, they're like, what are you doing?
You're not, wait, not the one with the quote. Or
It's
just not
like,
the quote. but
That one is
or-
creepy.
I was like, yeah, I haven't really done much of like the algorithms, like the sorting algorithms, stuff like, right? Which is like,
Yeah, that's like
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Guys, you already leaving. Let's go.
Go? That's over? Alright, yeah, let's go, man.
This one is fun. It's
if you
nice.
guys all go home, we get to go home, so we're all for it.
I missed the last two.
No, you did you were online.
person here.
I'm gone, man. I'm not sick, bro. I'm sorry.
There's no one, there was one getting in trouble anyway.
You're gonna be like that for the whole rest of the class.
Are we gonna get in trouble with these?
No, you have 4 absences, don't you?
No, but technically they're already here.
Oh, they were already here, yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna mark us absence, we're adults, and we paid 10 grand for this shit. I will.
All I'm saying is a little
I will pay.
I know where you live.
And also,
Hey, John.
We get free either way. Doesn't matter.
Projects.
Yeah.
Mom disorders.
Are we gonna learn Regex? Are we gonna learn Regex?
Maybe
No,
one,
I've never used
that.
Yes.
We all live right now.
You're
Espera, espera. Ahora mismo en el camino va.
Here, let me tell you exactly how many.
Yeah.
Let me see how I'm doing it.
Come on, Roscoe, you're gonna get us in trouble.
I was thinking about it. This is for mom.
Is this all of us? I mean, I don't know. Like everybody left already. What do you guys want to do? Yeah, everybody just left. Like, should we take this as individual time to work on our projects? Are you guys, who's on your team, Russ? You just with Mario? And that's it? What about you, Remote Bear? Okay, and then Melvin also left? Okay. All right, Pedro, what are you up to, man?
I don't have anything. I'm not in any group. I'm basically gonna pay for the now.
So I mean,
Well, you need to get into a group. I don't know, Siobhan.
so we can order this.
But
And you
what
use
about Mike? Are you in a group?
object and
Okay.
I set it equal to.
Well, we're gonna find you a group. What's going on with your homework?
Well, because I'm doing an and.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
Struggle
start like
for the
7
clue Regex.
Okay, you have 7.
But where you?
Yeah.
No, I was moving that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's try this.
Hey, do what it takes. Whatever gets you through it, get the certificate.
You do request a bonus. What is that? How does that? You know what that can be?
Okay, I won't say anything about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I'm looking for keywords.
Okay. This is the ray.
Hey, you're back. I don't know if we're gonna keep going since everyone left. Yeah.
Well, no, 'cause I don't know.
I don't know. Do you guys want to stay here and learn Python? It's 4 of us. I'd rather do it Saturday, I think, when everybody's here.
Just to get a teacher. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it didn't have the readme, so it was kind of hard to follow. I think everyone was like yeah, I'll redo it for Saturday, so we'll get through most of it. Just work with it 2 days, I guess, if you guys have questions on your projects and stuff. I think we're gonna break since like so many people left, like 8 people